The bright morning sun poured through the glass walls of the magnificent Grand Meridian Hotel, making every marble floor sparkle like polished crystal. Guests arrived with rolling suitcases, luxury cars lined the entrance, and employees hurried to prepare for one of the busiest days of the year. But within seconds, the peaceful atmosphere shattered. A sharply dressed hotel manager pointed toward a simply dressed woman standing quietly near the entrance, and with cold confidence, ordered security to keep her outside. No one questioned him. The guards stepped forward without hesitation, believing they were protecting the hotel's reputation from an unwanted visitor. What nobody realized, not the manager, not the guests, not even the guards, was that the woman they had just humiliated was the true owner of the entire hotel. Before we continue, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance and that people should never be judged by their appearance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness too. Your support helps us bring more heart-touching stories like this one. The woman waiting calmly outside was named Vivian Hale, a 42-year-old entrepreneur whose quiet personality often made people underestimate her. Years earlier, she had built a successful hospitality company from almost nothing after losing both parents before finishing college. Instead of inheriting wealth, she inherited determination. She spent years traveling across the country studying hotels, learning every position from housekeeping to accounting, believing no leader should ask employees to do work they had never experienced themselves. Eventually she purchased struggling hotels, restored them with compassion instead of greed, and earned a reputation for treating every employee with dignity. Yet very few people recognized her face because she rarely appeared in advertisements or interviews. She believed the business should speak louder than its owner. Months earlier, Vivian had quietly married Rowan Mercer, a talented businessman she believed loved her for who she was rather than what she owned. During their relationship, she had intentionally kept her wealth private because too many people in her past had valued her bank account more than her heart. Rowan seemed different. He admired hard work, respected ambition, and spoke often about honesty. Believing she had finally found genuine love, Vivian shared only that she managed investments. She planned to reveal everything after they had built a stronger foundation of trust. Unfortunately, success changed Rowan faster than either of them expected. Shortly after their marriage, Vivian appointed him as the acting general manager of the Grand Meridian Hotel, hoping the opportunity would help him grow professionally. She stayed away from daily operations so employees could respect Rowan's leadership without constantly relying on her authority. She thought giving him responsibility would strengthen both his confidence and their marriage. Instead, the position awakened an arrogance she had never seen before. Within weeks, Rowan became obsessed with appearances. He judged employees by expensive suits instead of dedication. He welcomed wealthy guests with dazzling smiles while ignoring ordinary travelers who simply needed kindness after long journeys. Staff members noticed the difference, but few dared to challenge him because he now held enormous authority within the hotel. The welcoming culture Vivian had carefully built over years slowly disappeared behind fear and image. That particular morning, Vivian decided to visit unexpectedly. She purposely dressed simply in comfortable jeans, a plain cardigan, and walking shoes after spending the early hours volunteering at a community food center. She carried no designer handbag, wore almost no jewelry, and looked like any ordinary visitor. Her intention was never to test anyone. She simply wanted to observe the hotel naturally before surprising Rowan with lunch. Instead, she discovered a painful truth. Before she even reached the revolving doors, Rowan noticed her through the lobby windows. He frowned immediately, assuming she looked out of place among luxury guests. Without walking outside or taking a closer look, he confidently instructed security to stop the woman before she embarrassed the hotel. The guards politely but firmly blocked Vivian's path. They apologized while explaining they were only following management's instructions. Standing only a few steps away, Rowan never recognized the woman he had married just months earlier because he expected his successful wife to always appear polished and glamorous. His own assumptions had blinded him. Vivian looked into his face for several quiet seconds. There was no anger, only disappointment so deep it felt heavier than tears. The man who had promised to stand beside her through every season had failed to recognize her the moment she appeared without status or luxury. Rather than arguing, she thanked the guards for remaining respectful and stepped aside. Sitting on a nearby bench beneath blooming flowers, she began observing the hotel. Within an hour she noticed elderly guests struggling with luggage while employees rushed past without offering help. A young housekeeper apologized repeatedly after dropping a towel because supervisors had become unusually strict. A family with small children waited far too long for assistance while staff focused on wealthier customers. Every scene revealed another crack in the culture she had worked so hard to build. Vivian quietly contacted the company's board and requested an emergency leadership review meeting for that afternoon. She asked them to arrive without informing Rowan. She also invited department supervisors, believing everyone deserved an opportunity to speak honestly. Meanwhile, Rowan spent the morning proudly entertaining investors. He boasted about increasing profits through stricter policies and premium services. He believed appearances created excellence. What he failed to understand was that genuine hospitality begins with respect, not luxury. By afternoon the hotel's executive conference room filled with board members, senior staff, and department leaders. Rowan entered confidently, assuming he would receive praise for recent financial reports. Instead, he found Vivian seated calmly at the head of the table. The room became completely silent. His confidence disappeared instantly. Color drained from his face as realization struck him with overwhelming force. The woman he had ordered removed from the property that very morning was not merely his wife. She was the founder, owner, and chairperson of the company that employed everyone in the room. No one spoke. Vivian remained composed as she thanked everyone for attending. She reviewed employee satisfaction surveys, customer feedback, and operational reports collected during the previous months. The numbers revealed declining morale, increasing complaints, and rising staff turnover despite healthy financial performance. She reminded everyone that the company's mission had never been to create the most luxurious hotels. It had always been to create places where every person felt welcomed regardless of appearance, income, or background. Then she described her experience that morning. She explained how security had respectfully followed instructions while management had judged someone without asking a single question. She praised the guards for remaining professional but gently questioned the leadership that had placed them in such an impossible position. Looking directly at Rowan, she said the greatest danger to any organization was not financial loss but losing the ability to see humanity in others. Rowan lowered his eyes, unable to defend himself. For the first time since becoming manager, he saw his actions through someone else's pain. Department heads slowly found the courage to speak. A concierge admitted employees had become afraid of making simple mistakes. Housekeeping supervisors confessed morale had fallen dramatically. Front desk staff described guests feeling less welcome than before. One longtime employee fought back tears while recalling how Vivian herself had once cleaned rooms alongside staff during a labor shortage years earlier. She said everyone had always respected the owner because she never believed any job was beneath her. Rowan listened to every word in silence. After the meeting ended, he requested a private conversation with Vivian. She agreed, but only after finishing discussions with employees. He waited nearly an hour outside her office, understanding perhaps for the first time what humility felt like. When they finally met, he apologized without excuses. He admitted that power had changed him. He confessed becoming so focused on protecting the hotel's image that he forgot the values that had attracted him to Vivian in the first place. He admitted his greatest shame was not failing to recognize the owner but failing to recognize his own wife because she no longer fit the image he expected. Vivian listened carefully. She explained that forgiveness and trust were not the same thing. Forgiveness could begin immediately, but trust had to be rebuilt through consistent actions over time. She reminded him that love without respect eventually becomes empty. Wealth had never been the issue. Character had. Rather than dismissing him permanently, Vivian made a difficult decision. She removed Rowan from his executive position but did not terminate his employment. Instead, she reassigned him to a 6-month hospitality development program where he would rotate through housekeeping, maintenance, room service, concierge, laundry, reception, and guest relations. Every shift would place him beside employees whose work he had previously overlooked. He would earn respect through service instead of authority. Many expected Rowan to resign immediately. He didn't. On his very first day cleaning guest rooms, he met employees whose names he had never bothered to learn despite working in the same building for months. He listened to single parents working double shifts, immigrants supporting families overseas, and young students saving for college. He discovered extraordinary people behind ordinary uniforms. As weeks turned into months, guests occasionally recognized the former manager pushing housekeeping carts or delivering room service trays. Some seemed surprised, but Rowan no longer cared about appearances. He had learned that dignity comes from serving others with sincerity. Vivian quietly observed his progress from a distance. She noticed him staying late to help coworkers finish difficult tasks. She watched him personally carry luggage for elderly guests without seeking recognition. Staff members slowly began speaking positively about him again, not because of his title but because of his kindness. 6 months later, employee satisfaction reached its highest level in years. Customer reviews praised the hotel's warm atmosphere more than its luxurious rooms. Profit remained strong, but something far more valuable had returned. Humanity. Vivian invited every employee to the grand ballroom for a company celebration held during a bright, beautiful afternoon. Standing before hundreds of staff members, she announced a new leadership philosophy that would guide every hotel in the company. Promotions would no longer depend only on financial performance but also on compassion, integrity, and the ability to treat every person with equal respect. She then invited Rowan onto the stage. Instead of restoring his previous position immediately, she introduced him as someone who had learned that true leadership begins with humility. The applause that followed came not from fear but from genuine respect earned through change. Rowan looked across the crowd and saw security guards, cleaners, receptionists, chefs, bellhops, and executives standing together as equals. He finally understood what Vivian had built long before he arrived. The hotel's greatest treasure had never been its elegant architecture or expensive chandeliers. It was the culture of kindness that welcomed every human being through its doors. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness too so more people can discover stories that remind us what truly matters. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe people should be judged by their character rather than their appearance. As the golden afternoon sunlight filled the hotel's entrance once again, Vivian paused near the same doors where she had been turned away only months before. This time, every employee greeted every guest with the same warm smile, whether they arrived in designer suits or simple clothes. There were no assumptions, no quick judgments, and no invisible walls separating people by wealth or status. Rowan stood nearby, opening the door for an elderly couple carrying worn travel bags, smiling with genuine warmth that needed no audience. Vivian realized that the greatest victory was never proving she owned the hotel. It was proving that kindness could rebuild what pride had nearly destroyed. Because in the end, the strongest foundation any home, business, or relationship can ever have is not wealth, power, or prestige, it is the simple courage to see the value in every single human being.